HaShana.
He never does Parnes HaShana.
Parnes HaShana is the whole year.
Right, he doesn't.
So he does it every breath, I think.
He does.
People pay for it. 36 grand.
No, they need to do it every year.
Yeah, that's what someone pays 36 grand for that.
The ones that old one.
Huh?
The ones that
I think. The rest of the he knows so.
Thank the Parnes HaShana Mishpacha that's sponsoring the Shiur, לעילוי נשמת from Gdalya, and Rabbi Shimon, Shom Shem Lili, and Malfem Shem Menachis and Bracha. We're on page Samach Zayin in Daas HaSefiros. I feel bad, it's so irregular. Baruch Hashem, it's only Chasnas every Chasnas. I think next Tuesday night is also Chasnas. Baruch Hashem. I think the Chav is growing up. I'm not speaking at us, I'm speaking at the boys. The boys are growing up. Okay. Page Samach Zayin. In the middle of the page, Bitui Chelke HaNeshama B'chayei Adam. We're learning about, again, all the Torah's Hakdama to the Ikar of the Sefer, which is all about the Sefiros, each of the Sefiros. But we're learning about the Chelke HaNeshama, the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chayei, and Yechida, and how these parts of who we are, how they're manifested through our actions, our thoughts, our relationships, our Amunah. That's what this parak is about, this Maimer is about. So in the middle of Samach Zayin, Bitui Chelke HaNeshama B'chayei Adam. V'shloishes HaChalokim Halalu Shel Nefesh Ruach Neshama. Learn that they Bitui B'seichel Regesh U'Maisa Kanal. As we learn that the Neshama is manifested through the mind, and the Ruach, through the heart, and the nefesh through the liver. But the ikar is that we're talking about inside of us, the seichel, intellect, regesh, emotions, maisim, the things that we do. And in the life of a person, there are three basic parts, according to which part of our neshama is prominent during that particular time. Shetkufas hanarus, the time when we're young, ad gil shloishim ba'adam, zeh keneged chelik hanefesh. The Sefer tell us that during those early years of a person's life, to the age of 30, Baruch, I mean, everybody's different, but during those years, till the age of 30, the ikar aspect of the person that's seeking to be expressed, and that's dominates is the nefesh. L'chein ikar bitui shel yetzer hatayvis ze b'tkufa zu shel chayim. And as a result of that, it's a time where there are very stormy taivas. The physical desires are very, very powerful, in particular during those years, because the nefesh is that part of us that's most connected to biology, to our very existence, to our physical existence. So during that time until 3, which doesn't mean to say that the person is not somebody of deep thought and emotions, but the most powerful drive of a person during those years is his body, his physical existence. V'zeh keneged chelik hashutfus shel ha'ein, which corresponds to that part of the person that is most connected to the mother. It's the ikad, the guf, the nefesh is connected to the mother. V'chelik hasheni shel emtza chayi adam, and if the person is zeicha and continues on in his life, so then the middle age, those years, emtza chayi adam, zeh keneged haruach, corresponds to the ruach. What corresponds to it is the main time where the ruach of a person dominates, is manifested. Usually by this time, during those years of the middle age, of the middle years of the person's life, the taivas begin to subside somewhat, and there are more thoughts of ruchnias and eifani ba'olam, what am I doing with my life, where am I going with my life, what's the tachs of my life. It begins to be more affected by the ruach. And he begins to be more concerned with being masakin, his midas. Which corresponds to the chelik of the shutfus of the father, which is more refined in its essence than the chelik of the mother. The person grows older. Again, till when is this? Till the time of 50, 60. The person lives to older age. By the time a person's zeicha to live to an old age, during those years, past the time of 60 and on, he's zeicha to the chelik more of the neshama. He's able to connect more to the chelik of the neshama. Of course, a person that's not working on himself, his whole life is just never moves on beyond the level of nefesh, never goes past that. But in the right way, during the older years, the person is more connected to the chelik of himself. That's the neshama. And that corresponds to the shutfus, to the part of the shutfus that's Hashem. There are three shutfim in each of our lives: the father, the mother, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the part of the neshama, that part of us that's the neshama, corresponds to the chelik of Hashem shutfus in the person. So here the neshama begins to speak louder. The neshama begins to stake its claim on the person's life, whereas during the earlier years, the person was more under the control of nefesh and ruach. At this point of older age, the neshama. And this is the most refined part of who we are. Kain's that kosav hagrabi Yeshaya, and this is what we just learned is based upon the commentary of the Vilna Gaon of Yeshaya. And so is in the writings of one of the Gedolim B'Balei Havoida. I don't know why he doesn't say his name. This is Rav Kook and some other tzaddikim say this as well. Page Samachas. Now we mustn't forget that there are two other chelkei hanefesh or chelkei haneshama. They're very, very mysterious. Chaya and Yechida. We're going to talk about them a little bit as far as each individual person is concerned, and then we're going to learn from the writings of Rav Sasson a little on how this inyan of Chaya Yechida is manifested in Am Yisrael. We're feeling it very strongly now. How Chaya Yechida is manifested in the nation. All of the Chelkei HaNeshama apply to the individual, and Am Yisrael also has an Nefesh Ruach Neshama. We'll talk much more about that. So, Lamosha Chelkei HaNeshama Shem V'Pol Al Adam Ein Nefesh Ruach Neshama Mikom Makom Yesh Bitu Ma'isi B'Avodas Adam Achol Haroiv Dem Shaklal Chameshes Chelkei HaNeshama. Even though those three parts of Nefesh Ruach Neshama, even though we learned that the neshama, even the neshama there's only a little bit of our neshama that's inside of us, but the neshama has a powerful, powerful role in our lives. Nevertheless, the other two rovadim, the other two layers of who we are that transcend our bodies, which is chaya and yechida, also play a very important role in our lives. Okay, so he's going to give some examples of how the 5 levels of the soul the 5 Chelkei HaNeshama, how they're manifested in our lives. Just some examples. Now, these were shiurim that were given to yeshiva bachim, or in Galite. I don't know if it was a kollel, it was yeshiva bachim, it was in yeshiva. So you'll see that the example that he begins with is in terms of limud haTorah, of things that are going on in the yeshiva. But he moves on to other aspects of life. But you could see from what we're going to learn now that he said these were shiurim that he gave in yeshiva. So kol adam v'chol ma'aseh shu oiseh, and every single thing that we do in our lives, v'chol ma'aseh shu oiseh, every single thing that you and I do in our lives, yesh bos chameshes haroivdim shel chelkei haneshama. There's an expression of the 5 chelkei haneshama. Nefesh ruach neshama chayichid. Shem hamashpiyim v'hayotzim es ha'ma'aseh shu oiseh, that have a hashpah and actually create that act that the person does. What is it that's invested in the act or that's not invested in that action? All of this is the 5 Chelkei HaNeshama. V'zeh maschil milamata lamala, from below to above. V'yesh lahavi v'zeh dugma shetamchish inyan zeh. So I'm going to give you just a very simple example, so you could just see how this works, get an idea of how this works. Kasher adam magila beiso. For instance, a person comes home. He's talking about, you see, coming home after a full day of learning, coming back, I guess, from Kolo. He comes back home and the house is a wreck. Things are a mess in the house. And he walks in, he sees the balagan, and it bothers him. I don't know if that ever happened to any of you, but he walks in, there's a balagan, and it bothers him. Yesh b'zeh chamisha hadbeitim. There are 5 perspectives, possible perspectives, that have to do with the interplay of the different layers of the neshama. Shechalim ligrom, that can cause the tchusha, this feeling, this sense. Shemafir lo choser hastedu beiso. Why the person walks in, he opens the door and he sees this situation, and it bothers him. The shaila is, what is it about this situation that bothers him? What is it that bothers him? What's wrong? Why is he getting upset about this? So there could be different reasons that are. Aleph. On the most basic level, the person could be annoyed about the mitzias. It's dangerous to walk into this place. Or he has a natural aversion to, he was raised in a very clean home, and it bothers him that there's stuff all around. On a very basic level, it's dirty, it bothers him, it annoys him. It's hard to live in a place where there's no seder. Keep in mind that he was talking to guys that lived in apartments in Yerushalayim. Not they didn't have most of us have a room to run away to someplace in the house. Not everybody, but for most of us here in the 5 towns, there's a place somewhere to hide. But when you live in one of those apartments in Yerushalayim, there's nowhere to go. You can go to the Miklat, which is oftentimes they have ways of figuring out how to put that in the apartment also, right? So there's nowhere to go. So could you just to say that mitzad Messias, it's annoying to the person. He's a mesudadika person, and it bothers him that things are. So it could be a very, very. It's not a deep Indian. It's chilka nefesh. Mitzad, what he's used to, what he's accustomed to, what he feels is clean and comfortable, and he can't concentrate. He can't learn here. He can't. It's too much of a balagan. So it's mitzad nefesh. Beis. Could be that there's an Indian of midas that's being misayir in him. What? From the ruach. Could be he's thinking about his friend's apartment that he just dropped off his friend in his apartment, and everything there is beautiful, is masuda, and it's a nice apartment, and the wife is put together. It could be a kazayis of kinna, but there's something that's missing in ruach. It's affecting his ruach. It's the ruach that's the cause. Now, the underlying problem here in this person right now is not his nefesh, it's his ruach. It's an inyan of midas. Either way, it could express itself as being angry. We're not talking about how it's expressed. It can be expressed in anger either way. But what's bothering the guy? What's inside? That's what we're talking about. So it could be with one person. It's just a nefesh. It's a pashat inyan. The second person already, we're talking about ruach. The ruach is working here. Either way, it could be an outburst or it could be whatever. He could control it. But what is it that's moving him at this point? Why is it that only in his place, only in his house, is there a problem like this? There's no seder. There's a guy, there was a student of mine many years ago. This was before they had pictures with the phone. He would go to the trouble of taking pictures when his wife wasn't looking. He would send me in the mail from Yerushalayim pictures of the mess in his house, and to ask me, what could I do about this? Can you talk to my wife? Can you please do something? Help me. He was sort of like it was pretty bad. It was like in the kitchen sink. It was like crazy, stacked up and all over the place. And he said, I can't live like this. I come from a normal place, and this is crazy. And I didn't hear from him for like the last 30, 40 years. No, like 30 years. I didn't hear from him a long time. Just around a month ago, he sent me a very nice letter about the children are married and everything. So I guess he worked it out. But and I'm just curious how the daughters are doing in there, how it's working out for the next generation. But it was not good. It was a difficult sugi over there. So it could be mechelek haruach shenyana hamida shabodam. If we're talking about jealousy, then it's a ruach ra. That's already a ruach ra. It's not about nefesh. It's not just that it's dirty or inconvenient or something stares and we can't learn because it's noisy. It's something here that's touching a deeper place inside of him. Already it's in his midas. Why is it that this is like this me and it's not like that with the other people and so on? Gimel. Palmim is my feel like Esek HaTorah v'Amitzvah Shulay Yochel Lasik b'Torah b'Gval Chayser HaSeder but Neshes HaMorid Lo Mishalvas HaNefesh Lo V'Chadayim. It could be now this third person with the anger or the frustration is beginning with this from a place of neshama, because it stares as avodas Hashem. He's not just saying that to make himself look religious. He really bothers him in terms of his concentration with learning and with brachas and with davening and his avodas Hashem and his dveikus. It's bothering him. It's a keneged chelik neshama. It's already coming from a deeper place. Chelik neshama shenyana chelik haruchni shavadam. Chelik haruchni. It's coming from ruchni. It's a deeper part of the person. Ruchnis. As we'll see, the 2 pages from here, that this ruchnis could also be just in terms of his relationship that he's having with his wife. What type of relationship does he have? There are people whose relationship is primarily nefesh. There are others whose relationship is also more with ruach. And there are those who have a relationship on the level of neshama, even chayichida, there's such a thing, and the relationship is much deeper. And therefore it could be that there's something in their relationship that's being verstered because of the matzav in the apartment that hurts him on a very deep level as far as his connection to his wife. So we're going to get to that. But right now he's just using this example of the guy coming back from yeshiva. So this person is coming more from his neshama. Daled. V'yesh mokim shezeyochel arfi mitzad hachelik shebo hu mischaber ma'oid ba'avodas Hashem k'gan sheyesh lo hagashas sipek g'dayla b'limud misug k'limud shel divrei hagodah b'chadayma. He's a sensitive person, and his limud Torah is to connect to something much deeper in terms of learning parts of Torah that bring him to a place of dveikus b'Hashem. Could be that it's that the matzav in the house is affecting his ability to get to that place inside of himself, in a deeper place than the neshama, than just the ruchnis in general. It touches something deeper inside of him. There's a part of his life that gives him chiyas. He doesn't just learn Torah because it's interesting, or he's steiging, or he's smart, or he enjoys it. His learning gives him tremendous amount of chiyas, and in this environment that he's in, he can't connect to that. It's too much of a balagan. He can't connect to that, and he's not getting chiyas in his avodas Hashem. And Yechida, v'yesh adam magish sheshlichusa b'chaim zel hagid shiur chadayim. And he's using the example talking to the guys in Mismedrash. He says it could be that there's a person who feels that my whole shlichus in this world is to teach Torah, and I'm supposed to give tomorrow morning a big shiur on a hard sugya in Bava Kama, and I walk into this, and he's not able to come to that place where he feels that the very purpose of his life is being undermined. Now, we're not talking about just something that gives him a lot of chiyas. It's his purpose in life. We're talking, yechida means why I'm in the world, why I exist. His whole feeling of meaning in his life is already being stared by this. He already feels that he's not able to live according to the reason why Hashem sent me into the world, that I'm supposed to be accomplishing in my life, and in this kind of a home, I'm not able to be myself. That feeling that I can't be myself in my own home, whether it's with learning, he's using this as an example, or something else, but I can't be myself, and you feel that the home that you walk into, chas v'sholom, is one that is driving you away from who you are. There are people in Nebuch that live like that. The marriages, the matziv in the house. He's talking about a messy house, that's the clinic guy. But the matziv in his marriage, the matziv in his life that he has with his wife and kids of the house, whatever it might be, is pulling him away from who he is. And he's not able to be himself in this place. He feels that when I'm in yeshiva or when I'm with a certain friend, I'm able to be myself. But I walk into this place and this isn't me. That feeling of this is not me, and it's not something silly, it comes from a very, very deep part of him. It's called Yechida Shenefesh, could be reaching a very, very deep part. We'll talk much more about Yechida and how that affects us as Am Yisrael when we're not connecting to that Yechida of Am Yisrael. But this is a very Nekudas Achaim Pnimiyus. Nekudas Achaim. So the whole tachlis of his life, he feels that, what am I doing here? That feeling of, what am I doing here? Or a person's married and he looks at this person, he says, why? Who is this person? Why did we get married? Those kind of questions that are terrible. Where a person wonders about his whole metzius in the world and how I'm living a life that is completely at odds with who I am, with my very existence. It's a terrible, terrible thing when there's that pain that comes from a place of yechidah b'nefesh, the essence of the person, the etzem of the person himself. It comes from such a place. So that's very, very, very different than the guy that's just annoyed because it's noisy. It's very different. This is already coming from somewhere else, from a different part of who he is. And on page Samach Tes, when it comes to Kiyum HaMitzvahs. Now there's a very big sugi in Shas and Halacha, Mrs. Svichas Kavanah, Mrs. Ein Svichas Kavanah, whether we need Kavanah to be Yetzei Mitzvah Derais, Shchonach Pasnas we do, or by Mitzvah D'Rabbanan. What kind of kavanah do we have to have? It's a huge sugi in Shas and a poskim. What do we have to invest of ourselves into a mitzvah that we do? So there's the basic amount of oneself to invest to be yoytz to the mitzvah. So to be yoytz to the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah. Okay, say that. And then there are madregas and madregas that a person can invest in a mitzvah. With the tzaddikim, their entire existence is in the mitzvah. I've told you many times over the years that there was a chassid that came from Kabrin, I don't remember which one, that tzaddikim, and he was visiting by the Kotzker, and the Kotzker asked this chassid, this Kabrin, I think it was a Kabrin chassid, asked the chassid, what is it that your Rebbe's, what's his greatness, what's his nakud of greatness? So the chassid said, whatever he's doing at that moment. And the Kotzker was very nispal from that. Because we know that this tzaddik was great in tzedakah, this tzaddik was great in learning, this tzaddik was great in chesed. Every tzaddik had, but he said about his Rebbe that my Rebbe's greatness is what he's doing at that moment. And the Kotzker used to talk about that. That was something. He wasn't easy to impress us, He was very impressed by that. There's such a thing where a person, his entire existence is the Ma'aseh Mitzvah. His entire existence. And there's another person whose mitzvah is just to reach his nefesh. Or when we're talking about not even the nefesh, then it could be a shayla whether he's here to the mitzvah. On page with anything that a person does, there are layers, different levels. A level deeper and deeper. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Now the poskim talk about a hechetim, so a person is saying Kriya Shema, and he comes to the words and he's not sure which parasha he's in the first or the second. Right? That happens to everybody at some point in life. It could be like it's a marav after a hard day, and you're saying Kriya Shema, and you say those words, and you go, and you look in the siddur, and you're trying to see, was I higher or lower? I know I said those words, but I'm not sure it was on the top of the page or the bottom of the page. So it's sometimes there's just, this is the question of being misasik in a mitzvah, right? Where it's a person's misasik. Where it could be it's bechlal, not a ma'isa. It's bechlal, not considered to be ma'isa at all. That's how there are some that interpret it in such a way. Rabbi Yosef based upon Taisus, learns like that. It's bechlal, doesn't have a shem ma'isa. It sounds like that from Chaim, but it's not so clear from Chaim. But from Rashi, it sounds like it's a ma'isa, but it has it's choser, it's missing, but it's you're not there. You're not present. Where does this ma'isa come from? I'm doing this right now. Remember the times I was, I'm sure those of you zeicher to be fathers know, my grandfathers, but I'd be reading to a kid like some storybook, and the kid's all excited sitting in my lap, and I'm falling asleep, and I start to say like other stuff. How that was that only me? Like I'm reading like some kid's book, and the kid's all into it, and I'm saying like, you got to call Yassel. I'm saying like crazy stuff, and the kid says, "What are you talking about?" Like this story time, So he thinks his father's like in it, and his father's like, like sleeping or someplace else. And the kids feel that. It's a bigger problem when you're fully awake and you're like that. It's already a little bit of an excuse if you're falling asleep. But the kids feel that the parents are fully awake. When my kids were growing up, we didn't have any of the phones. Now the kids see what's going on with the parents. So, Madu why are you doing this? I'd imagine like there'd be this thing just on a regular morning in shul, a shachris or a mincha marv, whatever, and Chavetz Chaim walks in and says, "All right, everybody stops." The Chavetz Chaim came from the grave just to see us. Chavetz Chaim says, "Why are you davening?" And it's like in the middle of Ashrei or someplace like that, or somebody just walked in and is playing with his coffee a little bit or something, and the Chavetz Chaim says, "Why are you here?" To ask yourself a question: Why are you doing this? Why are you davening? What's the point of davening? Why are you davening? How is this davening? I'm just using davening, whatever this mitzvah is, sukkah, shayfa. How is this a mashpia? What's the hashpah that this has? How does this affect you? How does this change you? You're in kashodam loy mitar. Again, remember he's talking to the guys in the mismeasures. Kashodam loy mitar yeshnam kama hebeitim esivas madu harayzelamud. So first you have a whole mismeasures filled with guys that are learning. They're learning. I'm not talking about guys that are playing around. They're learning. But the question with each of these people, why are you learning? So if each one be interviewed, why are you learning? At this moment, why are you learning? Not to have a planned speech, or an interview with Mishpacha or a magazine or something. Right this second, why are you learning? Aleph. I'm learning because that's what I do. That's what I do. I've been doing that my whole life, and I have to succeed in that. I have to succeed in this in order to graduate or whatever, to get my report card. That's chelik hanefesh. So the nefesh, only the nefesh is invested in this. Is invested in this. And at some ma'aseh halimud, all that's there is the actual act of learning, which he's learning. It's a madrega. He's not doing something else, and he is learning, and he's working on it. He's concentrating on the learning, but it's not coming from a place that's deeper than nefesh. Beis pam shulamed beglal shumakanav achem kinasayfim. Could be that he's learning because he wants to slug up somebody else or learn better than someone else, or there's this competition. He's using the example of kinna. Whatever other midah it is that he's. Shiur writes about covet. It could be even because of a negative midah like covet. It could be from a positive midah that he enjoys the intellectual stimulation, whatever. On a very basic level, because that can also really be in the neshama a little bit. But it could be because of covet. He wants to be able to be one of the top guys. It could be that he figures that he's going to learn, and he's going to he'll get a rich girl, he'll get some skinny, pretty, rich girl. So, because he heard that you do better with shidduchim if you have a good reputation as someone who learns. So he could be learning for such a reason. It's nefesh. So, not nefesh. I'm saying it's a ruach. Also, because it's a taiva. It's a taiva. Now we're talking about a person who wants to learn because he wants to have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he believes, and he's right, that through Limud Torah, when a person learns with that intention, and the learning is coming from that place, it could be a way to be the strongest way to Mizdabik Hashem. So that person's learning is coming from the neshama. They're all learning the same Lat Gemara. In the same time, this medrash, and they're all learning good, but this one's learning the shama. Daled, here we have a person that we're talking beyond neshama to a place of chaya, where he has a tremendous chiyas and a sipuk, a tremendous oinek, a tremendous deep pleasure. So this person's learning could be coming from the place of chaya. Pnimiyus gives him a tremendous chiyus. He's excited. He has tremendous earning from it. The other guys until now, they're good. They're doing well. And even the one with the neshama, it's almanas. He wants to achieve this, but this moment, it doesn't necessarily mean that he has the highest feeling of chiyus and of earning. This person already, it's his whole chiyus, it's his whole oinig in life. This is his chiyus. Hey, pamim sheyesh lo chibul l'Torah. Now, when we're talking about yichida, that's when we say the words kihem chayenu. It means that I can't live without this. It's my whole life. Life is there's no value to my life without learning Torah. And that moment he feels that this is who I am. This is me. This is who I am. This is who I am. He feels that I'm now carrying out my shlichus, and this is why I was created. This is who I am. I was created to do this. This is not something that I have to do, or even that I just enjoy doing. This is something that is the purpose, the very purpose of my existence. It's why I was sent into the world. It's this whole meaning of his life in this world. Especially if he's a Rabbi, and he has Talmidim, and he's bringing a whole new generation of Jews who are Avdei Hashem, learning Torah and Shabbat Mitzvahs. He's a Rabbi, and he's a gewaldige, that's the chiyus. His whole Metzius is this. She's tafkid of Olam. Zemechelek hayichida. We're already talking about whether this guy, his learning is coming from the chelik of yichida. This guy that we're talking about now, you don't have to worry about him going off the derech if he has in his apartment building somebody that's not religious, or if he happens to pass by a girl on the street that's not dressed properly, and he's not going to go off the derech. This guy, he's not going to stop learning. And this is a guy that every free minute that he has, he's learning. There's no such thing of him not learning. He does what he has to do, but his whole metzius in the world, he feels that's his whole shlichus in the world, is to learn. So it's not just that he learns when he has to learn, he's supposed to learn, he's expected to learn. It's his whole life. It's his whole metzius. The whole mohus of his tafkid in this world. And so how do you what? So yeah.
I don't want to mix apples and oranges, but it all sounds like Nefesh Bahamas to me.
It all sounds like Nefesh Bahamas. It could, every one of these things, every one of these madrigas that we're talking about could be an expression of either the Nefesh Bahamas, because there's also madriga of Ruach and so on. It could be, or an expression of Nefesh Lakis. But even, you're saying, even what we're talking about when it comes to Limud Torah, that is all Nefesh Bahamas?
Because it all sounds like
About the self,
like
without bittul.
Correct.
Without bittul. Right, so he's not, if this would be a Chassidish Sefer, that paragraph would be, you're right, would be very different. And we're going to get to that part of it. He's sort of going gradually to bring us to that place of when it's the highest madrega, where the entire Nefesh Elokis is coming completely from Nefesh Elokis. But he's trying to help us understand, so it's a davar hashava l'chol nefesh. Every person that can relate to this and can understand it, and that's, you're right, you're 100% right. It should just be all about bittul, like when you look by Yom Dekacha. So he's going to work his way to that. But this is just a davar hashava l'chol nefesh. Everybody. In other words, in every single thing that we do, even that which is coming primarily from the Nefesh Bahamas, in that world of the Nefesh Bahamas, it could be coming from different madrigas also. So it's not just a learning Torah, or with any Maaseh mitzvah. The truth is with any Maaseh. The physical act of performing the mitzvah, that's keneged nefesh. That's nefesh. Vasiyas ha-mitzvahs im hargoshes ruchniim, and doing the mitzvah with hargoshes of ruchnias, the midas are engaged, that's really keneged ruach, hav and yir and so on. V'chiba shel adam l'ruchni shel ha-mitzvah zeh keneged neshama, a deeper connection to neshama. Kashem eschaber v'yesh a sipuk ma'is ha-mitzvahs v'umargish esem manig l'chiyah zeh keneged achayah, when he has a whole chiyas from the mitzvah, that's chayah. V'margish she'esek ha-mitzvah memali es yehuda ba'olam, when the person feels that this ma'aseh mitzvah is my whole life, is to be able to mekayim mitzvahs Hashem, to do this mitzvah. Zeh tamsis chayah, zeh keneged hayichid. It's the whole tamsis, is the whole essence of my life, is this ma'aseh mitzvah. Is how the tzaddikim lived when they were in that mitzvah. That's what it was. That was the whole mitzvah. Zeh keneged hayichid. That's keneged hayichid. Ad kan bi'anu es chameshes haroivdim shel nefesh adam klape ma'aseh. We were talking until now about what a person does and how 5 people are doing the same thing or experiencing the same thing, but those experiences, each one's experiences or his feelings about that experience or what he's going through comes from a different part of who he is. V'yesh ladaz sheroivdim elokaim gam yachas Hashem zbarach klape ha'adam. You need to know that there is this way that Kodesh Baruch Hu relates to us the way that we relate to him, Hashem Tzilcha. She'pamim rabbas Hashem Zbarach medar v'lo adam b'chol minei oifanim shaynim. She'kayim ein lanu neviim. So we used to have neviim, we used to have nevuah. L'chen Kodesh Baruch Hu medar v'lo adam b'bechinas mishalim. So when we had nevuah, Hashem would speak to the Navi, and it's such a, by Moshe Weinberger was panim al panim. So what that means is that there was, and there can be, such a relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu and the person, where the way that you relate to Hashem, Hashem relates to you. So Moshe Rabbeinu's relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu was at a certain level, and it came from a certain place. So Kivyochel, even though Hashem has levels, layers, but Hashem relates to the person and speaks to that person in that madrega, in that place. So Nevuah, to understand what Nevuah is, especially And the Nevuah of Moshe Weinberger is already a different madrega. And that's called panim al panim, face to face. And we all experienced that at Har Sinai, because when we were at Har Sinai, we were connected on the deepest level to nefesh ruach neshama chai yichida. That's where we felt that we were going to die, mamish. We were in a place that we couldn't hold us within the gufa. We were going to die. And Hashem Yisbarach, when He said Anochi Hashem Elokecha, so those words were spoken to us also in such a way that they were coming from that bechina of panim al panim, Kadosh Baruch Hu relating to us in that way, on that madrega. V'lachein HaKadosh Baruch Hu medarber l'adam b'bechinas mishalom shalav l'havin mahem mahu oimek ratzon Hashem Yisbarach mimenu. We don't have that. We don't have nevuah now. So there are other ways that Hashem speaks to us. When a person is not on madrega of chayin yichida, then Hashem Yisbarach speaks to a person on different madregas. So, for instance, a person sees things, and whatever a person sees, Hashem Yisbarach is showing that person something. Whatever you and I see, every moment of our lives, every day, and every moment, there's a reason why we're seeing that. But we don't always know how to interpret that, or we just ignore it. It's Moshe Ben's whole madrega was in the parasha Asura Nave'er. Let me take a look and to understand this. When he was by the bush, Asura Nave'er. What is this? What is this? Because what is Hashem Yisbarach saying to me right now? To live in that way of trying to understand. The Gemara brings a pasuk, Aznecha tishmana dava me'acharecha, that your ears shall hear words that are spoken from behind you. So when there was nevuah, Hashem spoke to a human being in such a way of panim al panim. There was that feeling of panim al panim, of connecting in such a way. In the absence of nevuah, so Aznecha tishmana dava me'acharecha, that your ears should hear words that are spoken from behind you. It's called already acharayim, like it brings down the note. Acharayim means you're hearing things from behind you. Hashem is not speaking to you face to face. He's still talking to each one of us. Hashem is always talking to us. But He's not speaking to us in an open and clear way. He's speaking to us by way of hashgacha pratis, by way of mishalom, or as the tzaddikim say, by things that you hear coming out from the people you're very close to, how your wife talks to you, what your kids are saying to you, especially things that Hashem speaks to you, each one of us all the time in different ways, through things that we see. Davar Gabaskal, an echo. It's not the voice of Hashem, it's the voice of a voice of a voice, like the echo. It's coming originally from the voice of Hashem, but we're not in a madrega to receive it in such a direct way. So Hashem speaks in different ways to each one of us. And a person's job is to try to engage his nefesh ruach neshama chai yichida, and to try to understand Hashem's language on each of those levels. To try to interpret, to understand it. It's very hard. This already is a person that's thinking very deeply and trying to understand everything in his life. The higher level the person lives, the more he's able to have this kind of a dialogue with Hashem. The more he's able to hear and to understand Hashem's way of speaking. So this person is totally oblivious. I never heard a word from God. I never said anything to me. And there's another person that every single second he hears Hashem speaking to him, not in a voice. Hashem speaks me'acharecha, but he hears it, he feels it, he sees it, and everything that he sees, everything in his life is a hayrah, is something from Hashem Yisbarach, is a way of Hashem Yisbarach speaking. If a person doesn't know how to use this, you could become crazy from it. I mean, the person has to be healthy and to use this in a healthy way. But it's a madrega of how to listen to Hashem's voice and to be involved and connected to Hashem on these madregas. Some people just live on a level of nefesh, and then there's ruach, and there's neshama, there's chai yichida. Well, maybe yoyser my ratzon Hashem is baruch himenu, and therefore he's able to he's able to understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying to him at that time in his life. So we see that by tzaddikim, many of the stories of the tzaddikim are about that. Like something happened, and the tzaddik saw in that and heard in that Hashem saying something to him. The tzaddik is all excited about what he just heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and everybody else is sitting around the table doesn't know what's going on. They're watching the same thing, and it means nothing. Just like if all of us would have been walking in the desert that day and we'd have seen a bush on fire, we'd have kept on going, or we'd have gone to call the fire department or something. Moshe Weinberger is Sur Navera, and he sees the whole thing of Kutshabichutz, that Bechol Sherosim Leitzar, and Rashi and the Ramban, and Moshe Weinberger is in that place. The rest of the Olam is just keeps on going. So it's all who you are. It depends if you stop to listen, if you're listening, and how do you listen, and how each person listens and is connected. That's how we hear Hashem speak to him in the language of Nefesh, Ruach, Nesham, Chai, Yechid. It's all where you are. That's how you'll be able to, it's like a transmit. To be able to receive a transmission, you have to have a certain kli to pick up on that transmission. So in order to pick up on that language of Hashem, you have to have a certain kli. You have to open up that part of yourself to let that kind of voice in, or else you don't hear that voice. You don't have that. You're not using that part of yourself to receive that transmission. So each person and his madrega, how are you listening? That's how you're going to receive the Devar Hashem. I will continue Bez Hashem next time. Do we have anybody that use a Marav now? Marav? Top, yeah. Bez Hashem. Hold on here.